Hello and welcome. I am Exit Light and this is my channel. And today we're going to do another segment on history's creepiest photos and the stories behind them. So, before we get started, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. And if you are not subscribed and you would like to be, please go ahead and do so and ring the bell. And that will allow you to be notified when my content goes live. Okay, guys, let's get into some of these photos. The Amityville Ghost Boy. Captured inside the Amityville Horror House in 1976, this creepy vintage photo remains one of the most chilling paranormal images of all time. After the DeFeo murders, the house's next owner, George Lutz, claimed that the house was haunted and called in famed paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren to help, as I'm sure everybody listening to this already knows. One night, the automatic camera they'd set up on the second floor caught what appears to be a ghostly boy staring back. Some believe that it is the ghost of young John DeFeo, who was murdered in the house by his brother years earlier. Shortly after midnight, on New Year's Day in 2011, Filipino politician Reynaldo Dagza took this picture of his family on the streets of Caloocan and, inadvertently, photographed the man who was just about to kill him. Although Dagza was dead, this photo survived and helped police to catch his killer. Do you see him off to the left? That is so crazy. For heaven's sake, catch me before I kill more. I cannot control myself. On December 10th, 1945, William Herons left this note, scrawled in lipstick on the wall of Francis Brown's Chicago apartment. Just before writing this message, Herons brutally stabbed Brown to death and left a knife sticking out of her neck. Herons became known as the Lipstick Killer, and it took one more victim before police finally caught him 6 months later. And this one, oof, the eyes. This 1883 mugshot of Pete Spence is the only known photo of this Old West outlaw who was terrorizing Arizona alongside the infamous Frank and Tom McClary. Already known as a thief, Spence became the prime suspect in the 1882 murder of Morgan Earp, who was the brother of legendary lawman Wyatt Earp. However, there was only one witness, and that was Spence's own wife. So, a judge decided to rule her testimony inadmissible due to spousal privilege, despite the fact that she claimed to have heard Spence plotting the murder with several friends. However, a year later, he was arrested for pistol whipping and killing a man. He served only 18 months of a 5-year sentence as the governor decided to pardon him. In 1647, laborers working on a cathedral in Venzone, Italy, found the eerily preserved remains of a man inside a tomb in the churchyard. His body had dried and shriveled to just 33 pounds, and it left his skin like parchment paper, but he had not decomposed. After more corpses like that one were found in the ensuing decades and centuries, locals and experts alike were baffled how these bodies had been naturally mummified. Since the early 20th century, people believed that a certain fungus was responsible, while more modern theories say that the particular soil and water conditions are the explanation. However, the mummies of Venzone remain largely mysterious to this day. Hannelore Smuts was the 4th woman in the world to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Tragically, she was also the first woman to die on it. The German mountaineer and her husband embarked on their journey in 1979 with high hopes. But during the descent, after reaching the summit, Schmatz grew weak from the trek and succumbed to exhaustion and the cold. For years after Schmotz died, her body lay frozen on the mountainside just as she had fallen, sitting down against her backpack, her hair blowing in the wind, and her eyes wide open. Other climbers who passed her corpse on the trail would say that they could feel her eyes follow them as they walked by. Back when maritime expeditions were voyages into the complete unknown, setting out to sea was as adventurous as it was deadly. For John Hartnell, of the infamous Franklin expedition of 1845, the Arctic quest to find the Northwest Passage ended in icy. The 134-man crew set out on 2 ships, determined to find the elusive shortcut to Asia and thereby further open up British trade, but soon after departing England in May, they were never seen again. It was only in the 1980s that anthropologists finally found some of the buried bodies preserved by the cold on an icy island in the Canadian Arctic. Hartnell's twisted expression here is one of the creepiest images of seafaring expeditions ever taken. On April 20th of 1999, the Columbine High School shooting left all of America shocked after teenagers Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold massacred 12 of their students and 1 teacher before turning the guns on themselves. In the aftermath, everyone attempted to make sense of how the shooting could have happened, how 2, quote, normal teens could be capable of something like this. Parents, police, pundits, and survivors alike searched for clues and retroactive warnings in the pre-shooting behaviors of Harris and Klebold. Perhaps one of the most chilling artifacts uncovered in the wake of the shooting was this class photo taken a few weeks before the massacre, which appears to be rather standard at first. But at a closer look at the top left corner, you can see the 2 shooters posing their hands like guns and pointing them at the camera. The Omagh bombing of 1998 in Northern Ireland on August 15, 1998, killed 29 people and injured more than 200 bystanders. Carried out by members of the real Irish Republican Party, it was the deadliest attack during the 3 decades-long conflict known as the Troubles, which pitted those who wanted Northern Ireland to remain unified with Great Britain against those who did not. And for those of you who do not know, also was the war that Rob fought in. Arguably the most chilling photo taken during the entirety of the Troubles, this image shows a happy father and his carefree son standing next to a car in Omagh that was wired with explosives and was about to blow. They both died moments later. And lastly, for today, although this photo was taken as a light-hearted joke, the image of the Apollo 1 crew jokingly praying over a miniature of their command module turned deadly serious in retrospect. The 3 men, Roger Chaffee, Virgil Grissom, and Ed White, would later burn to death during a test launch on January 27, 1967. Tragically, the 3 men had even voiced concerns about the craft's amount of flammable materials to Joseph Shea, who was manager of the Apollo spacecraft program. They then took this portrait and presented it to Shea shortly before the fatal accident with a caption that read, "It isn't that we don't trust you, Joe, but this time we've decided to go over your head." Thank you for coming to my channel. We have more historically creepy photos coming up. Good night.